Alright, so I finally got the opportunity to see 2023's Evil Dead Rise. In the film, we follow two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. And in the cast, we have Lily Sullivan playing Beth. We also have Alyssa Sutherland playing Ellie, Gabrielle Eccles playing Bridget, Morgan Davies playing Danny, and Nell Fisher playing Cassie. Now before I talk about the new Evil Dead movie, I first want to talk about the older ones for just a second, as well as the TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead. I have watched all the movies, I've only seen them all once. I've watched a bit of Ash vs. Evil Dead, so I guess you could say I'm very much a casual fan of the Evil Dead series. So going into Evil Dead Rise, I was happy to find out that you really didn't need to know a whole lot about the other Evil Dead movies or even the show to understand and enjoy this movie here. Sure, having some of that background might elevate some things in this movie, but for the most part, it's really not a requirement. So yeah, if you're on the fence about seeing this movie because you haven't seen the other Evil Dead movies, go ahead and hop over that fence. But if you're on the fence because you don't like gore and you can't really handle that in movies or TV shows, yeah, get as far away from that fence as possible.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Last year, I watched two movies called Terrifier and Terrifier 2. You might be familiar with Terrifier 2 from the news because people were passing out and throwing up in the theater. I was not one of those people that passed out or threw up in the theater, which gets me into Evil Dead Rise. There is a lot of gore in this movie. The gore in here works so much better and is so much scarier than it ever was in Terrifier for me. I was a lot more likely to pass out or throw up watching this movie than Terrifier 2. Now, usually when it comes to gore, I can handle myself pretty well because I obviously know it's fake and sometimes it even looks fake. But what this movie achieved with its special effects, both digital and practical, make a lot of the gore in this movie very believable. On top of that, you have kids in the mix, so when you put kids in the mix, it makes things automatically 10 times more terrifying. Not necessarily because the kids are being creepy, but because you're worried about them. And as far as I know, that's something no Evil Dead movie or even the Evil Dead show has done, is involve kids in the plot. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about me wanting to pass out or throw up watching this movie, it was mainly wanting to throw up watching this movie. Obviously, there's stuff with blood in the movie, but there's also stuff with puke and also bugs, and that stuff alone made me have to look away from the screen, made me feel sick. Pretty much the entire time I was watching this movie, my stomach hurt. I don't think I've ever felt that way watching a movie, honestly. So yeah, Evil Dead Rise, not for the faint of heart. But let's take a break from talking about the gore and the horror of the film and talk about some other aspects. Starting with the acting. I think the acting in this movie is fantastic. Some of the dialogue could be a little bit better, but it wasn't distracting by any means. The lead of the film, Beth, played by Lily Sullivan, is fantastic in the film. She pulls off the moments where she's supposed to be horrified, but she also pulls off those moments where she's supposed to be a badass. Then there's Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie. She's the mother who gets possessed. This actress seems to have so much fun playing a demon. The things that they make her character do and say are absolutely insane, but add so much to this movie. Then when it comes to the actors playing the kids, I think they all did a fantastic job. But I guess I probably should say this right now. They are kids and they make dumb kid decisions in the movie. Decisions that I feel like in a normal situation, a kid probably wouldn't make just out of being horrified.
Open up now.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Nothing a big old kiss from you won't fix.
Definitely a no for me, dog. The voice is just not there.
But hey, I've never had a parent possessed by a demon, so who knows how I'd react. Then getting away from the acting side of things, I also want to get into the technical side of things. Already mentioned some stuff with the visual effects, but the thing I really noticed in this movie was how good the cinematography was. I'm a sucker for a good looking film. If you got a crappy story but it looks good, I'm still probably going to enjoy it for the most part. But along with the cinematography, I think the editing is also great. The pacing also really works for me. Doesn't drag too much, doesn't rush too much.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
None of that!
The runtime is perfect for this film. I don't think they needed any more or any less. Let's get back to the horror and the gore. The fact that I barely could look at the screen in certain parts is actually a good thing, not a bad thing. Depending on the person, that might be a bad thing for you, but for me personally, not being able to watch something on screen is just as good as being able to watch it.
It doesn't even make any sense!
But when it comes down to it, I really only have two complaints for this movie. First one being the dialogue. When it comes to the dialogue with the kids, specifically the youngest one, Cassie, she says some stuff that doesn't feel like something a kid would say.
You'd be a good mom someday, honey. Oh, yeah? Yeah. You know how to lie to kids.
Really, that's my only complaint with the dialogue. It wasn't distracting, didn't take me out of the movie by any means, but it's a complaint nevertheless. And my second complaint is a complaint I have for a lot of these types of movies. It's characters making dumb decisions. Now, in this case, it was mostly the kids making the dumb decisions, which makes sense for a movie like this, but at the same time, there's stuff that the kids did that I feel like kids wouldn't do if they were scared. But at the end of the day, this movie does way more right than it does wrong. This is by far my favorite horror movie I've seen so far this year. Haven't really seen that many, but still. Might even be my favorite horror movie I've seen in the last few years or so. So when it comes to my ranking, Evil Dead Rise from 2023 is a premium ticket. Like I said, if you're on the fence about this movie because you haven't seen the other Evil Dead movies, hop over that fence, go watch the movie. I think you're going to have fun with it. Definitely don't need to know anything about the other movies to be able to enjoy this one. But also, like I said, if you're not good with gore, if you're not good with blood, puke, whatever it might be, maybe don't watch this movie. But if you're a big fan of Evil Dead, I think you're very much going to like this movie here. They don't rely too heavily on Easter eggs or anything like that, but there are a few slight little nods that you'll get if you have seen the other movies. But let me know your opinions down in the comments below. Have you seen 2023's Evil Dead Rise? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it anytime soon? Why or why not? Might as well add this question along. Have you seen the Evil Dead movies? What do you think of those? Really, any comments you have for me, I'd love to hear from you. I respond to as much as I can. But do me a favor and leave a like on this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.